I just got done taking AP Psychology this year, and honestly, it was my favorite class I've ever taken. The content was so fun to learn about, and on top of that, the teacher was incredible. I loved her. She explained things so well, incorporated interactive games into her lectures, answered questions thoughtfully, and she was so kind and easy to talk to. For some strange reason, whenever I really like a teacher, I have nightmares about them. Nightmares in quotation marks because normally I either embarrass myself, fail, or do something to make them hate me in my dream. In this case, I kept having dreams where my psych teacher told me that she was disappointed in me. In one dream, I accidentally threw up and she said, "Didn't you promise that you wouldn't throw up in my class? I am so disappointed in you." Then in another dream, I was sitting on a beanbag chair at her house and then I suddenly got my period. I was like, oh crap, and tried to get up super quickly to go to the bathroom, but it was too late because I already bled on the chair. I started profusely apologizing, saying, "I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to, I'll clean it up." But my psych teacher was like, "I'm so disappointed in you. Why do you not have more self-control, especially in someone else's house?" In this other dream, I went to go buy cake, and there was this cake lady that was selling cakes for $1,000 each. When I mentioned that was kind of pricey, the lady started being really passive-aggressive and called me broke and cheap and that everyone else bought the cake without complaint, so something was wrong with me. I tried to ignore it at first, but she would not stop insulting me, so eventually I snapped and yelled back. My AP Psych teacher then popped out of nowhere and started talking about how disappointed she was in me because NHS members do not act in that manner. That's only a couple of the many dreams I've had of her. In my actual dream, it's terrifying because I don't want her to hate me and I feel like I messed everything up, but in hindsight, they're all hilarious to think about. I told her about them and she found them funny. My favorite unit in AP Psych was classical conditioning. And yes, I have a shirt about it that I wore to the AP exam. Basically, it was an experiment by Pavlov and his dogs. Before conditioning, he presents food, the unconditioned stimulus, to the dogs, and they drool, which is the unconditioned response, since dogs normally drool to the sight of food. During conditioning, he rings a bell, the neutral stimulus, which evokes no response within the dogs at first. When paired with the food multiple times, eventually the dogs develop a conditioned response of drooling to merely the sound of the bell, which becomes a conditioned stimulus. The reason why I love this unit so much was because it was when I realized that psych is literally everywhere and I could connect it to real life. For example, I used to have this really bizarre phobia of my school counselor. I realized that my school counselor was the conditioned stimulus and the conditioned response was extreme fear, literally trembling and heart racing just at the sight of her. After the initial interaction with her where I felt that I was rude and I thought she probably thought I was a horrible person, I guess my brain paired the sight of her with that immense feeling of guilt. But wait, there's more. Sometimes people would walk in with a light green pass during class, which would mean a counselor wants to call someone into their office. Whenever I would see this green pass, even without the presence of my counselor, I would also start to freak out because I would think, what if that pass is for me? I associated the green pass to the counselor, whom I associated with guilt, and then I would panic, which is an example of higher order conditioning. But wait, there's even more. Stimulus discrimination was occurring because it was just her I was scared of, not all counselors in general. Additionally, I experienced extinction because the more times I interacted with her, the less fear I felt, and that my fear eventually diminished down to nearly zero. But then I unfortunately also experienced spontaneous recovery because my fear re-emerged after a break period of not seeing her over the summer and then suddenly seeing her after school started up again. Something else that was funny was at the peak of this fear that I had, I would often have dreams about me being all confident and not scared of talking to her, and then in my dream I'd think to myself, this is great, why can't I always be like this? And then my brain would be like, you can't, you're only like this because you're dreaming. And then I'll smack myself really hard in the arm in my dream and I won't feel anything. And then I'll realize that since I can't feel anything, I really am dreaming, and then I would say dang it and wake up. Now that I think about it, it's kind of funny how my brain was classically conditioned into being scared of the nicest person ever. But don't worry, I'm not scared anymore. I've experienced extinction again. She is really awesome and I love talking to her. Another random thing about me is that if I really like a class, I feel the need to prove that I'm worthy of liking the class by being perfect in it. I strongly suggest that you do not take this approach, as it is a slippery slope to unhealthy perfectionism. I would spend hours and hours on psych outside of school reading the textbook and studying for it, mostly because I enjoyed it and I like learning about it, intrinsic motivation, but also because I was too scared to believe in myself and that I could do well even without going that far. A hidden factor was also probably that I didn't want to be a disappointment, hence my dreams probably manifesting my fears. Psychodynamic theory. I would finish my quizzes and tests super quickly, but then go back and double, triple check every answer and overthink it because I felt like I had to get 100 to prove myself. So much up to the point where my teacher would literally have to be like, Alicia, just submit it, trust me. Because I would get a perfect score but then still doubt myself. So yeah, I had really high expectations of myself when it came to psych, but I did end up with 100 both semesters. My teacher would bring in some cool stuff to supplement things we were learning. We got to do memory challenges, gambling, critical thinking games, and we got to do fun projects like making a podcast. She brought in perception goggles, that distorted your perception during our sensation and perception unit, and a real human brain during our brain unit. We got positively reinforced with candy whenever we won our games. It was so fun. But yeah, psych is so cool because you can just label pretty much anything that happens in your everyday life with the things you learn. Is your mom screaming at you for no reason? That seems like displacement. Do you think someone is a total jerk for cutting you off in traffic? Oh, I've fallen victim to the fundamental attribution error. You should take AP Psych. I highly recommend. I love AP Psych and I'm going to miss it a lot. Also, a huge thank you to my psych teacher for being the best. The end. Thanks for watching.